Okay. Good morning and welcome to another Venture Holidays Fireside Chat. This morning we're going to be covering China, Japan and South Korea with China Links, one of our general sales agencies. I'm David Dunkley, Product Manager with Venture Holidays, and I'm going to be your host for the next few minutes. So, China. It's the most populous country in the world at 1.4 billion. The biggest city is Shanghai with 23 million people. So if you want to put it into perspective, that's the population of Australia in one city alone. As an aside, Tokyo has a population of 30 million. China is the second largest economy in the world after the US and has over 150 different dialects, including the Royal Mandarin. You're China. Let's just, if you don't mind, I'm going to cover through some of the major attractions of China. Beijing, the capital with, of course, world-class historical palaces and monuments, including the incredible Forbidden City, Tiananmen Square, the Summer Palace, and the Great Wall. A unique experience in Beijing is actually a Hutong tour by rickshaw. Beijing, a lot of Beijing, of course, has been for the want of a better word, renovated. A lot of the older buildings have now been replaced with lots of new modern buildings, but there's a particular area which is called the Hutongs, which still maintains some of the traditional buildings, and it really is quite an experience to go along. Now, you can't actually take vehicles in there because the roads are so tiny that they get up to as close as or just under a metre wide. So you can imagine you can't exactly get a car or a tour bus through there. So the best way to see the Hutongs is by rickshaw. So Xi'an, made famous of course by the discovery of the Terracotta warriors, also the Yangtze Museum, which holds over 400,000 artifacts spanning several imperial dynasties. Then through to Shanghai, China's economic center, and once the Western world's only point of contact. This is such an incredible city of contrasts between the modern skyscrapers mixed with traditional Chinese go-downs and preserved European colonial buildings along the Bund. One of the things is to actually see Shanghai by night. If you stand over one side of the river facing across the river, you'll see all the modern buildings and the skyscrapers and the sound and light shows. It really is quite an amazing, amazing city. The Yangtze River. Now, this is the longest river in Asia and historically, economically and culturally important to China. Here you can join a 5-star river cruise to witness stunning scenery and the engineering marvel that is the Three Gorges Dam. Going through to Guilin, the Li River and also Yangshu, the impressive Reet Flute Cave and the enchanting Li River cruise through stunning limestone peaks and picturesque villages to Yangshu. There you can witness traditional cormorant fishing. Sanya, now this is actually known as the Hawaii of the Orient and is located on the southern island of Hainan. It's a great place to relax after a busy China tour. Yes, and China does have beaches. Yunnan, an area bordering Vietnam, Laos and Myanmar, the ethnic minority people here have retained many of their own customs and traditions, distinct very much from the Chinese. There's some great gentle trekking along the dramatic Tiger Leaping Gorge and also Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. The snow forest near Kunming is a big draw card along with ancient towns. Sichuan, featuring breathtaking forest mountain scenery and the natural habitat of the giant panda. Oh, and also, as the name suggests, great cuisine. It's known also for the Buddhist sites of Ma Mountain and the Lishan Buddha carved into a cliff face. Zhuzhai-gu National Park and Hualong Valley are also home to many small Tibetan villages. And finally, or not finally, but Tibet, roof of the world and the enthralling land of mountains, monasteries and monks with some of the most extraordinary cultures in the world. And Shaanxi, which is the birthplace of the Chinese civilization, offering many cultural sites including the ancient city of Pingyao and the incredible hanging monastery and the Buddhist Yongani grottos. Okay, so who are China Links? So China Links, the business was actually started in 2010 by Helen Lee, who was born in Beijing. She started working with the travel trade in 2013 and developed a specialist operation to China, also Indochina, Japan and Korea. She launched, as an adjunct to China Links, she also launched a company called Japan Links back in 2016. And Venture Holidays were appointed the general sales agents in Australia in late 2014. Okay, so what makes China Links a little bit different? First of all, the group size is a maximum of 20 passengers. They also have national guides, including for groups of over 10 passengers from right the way through from start to finish. Local guides with detailed knowledge to cover their own regions. They also feature air-conditioned coaches, which are very comfortable and have also passed all vigorous safety checks. And on some of the tours, they also use the Shanghai maglev and bullet train options available on different sleeper trains. So just a quick summary here. And so what do China Links offer? Well, what we have is a total of, in the brochure, a total of 14 tours. Japan, we're featuring 3 tours, and South Korea, we're featuring 2 tours. So if I could just run quickly through the China tours in the brochure at the moment. The first tour is China Essentials, which is a 9-day tour featuring Beijing, Xi'an, and also Shanghai. The Essential Plus Panda, as the name suggests, we've got the main feature of the tour is the pandas. So this is an 11-day tour featuring Beijing, Xi'an, Chengdu, and Shanghai. China Dreams, which is a 12-day tour to Beijing, Xi'an, Guilin, Yangzhou, and Shanghai. The Essential Plus Cruise features Beijing, Xi'an, Zhongqing, and then also the Yangtze River cruise aboard the Victoria, which is a 5-star ship, and also into Shanghai. The China Scenic Tour, I'll come to this one a little bit later as well. It's a 12-day tour featuring Beijing, Xi'an, Guilin, Yangshu, Chengdu. And also the Grand Yangtze Discoverer, again featuring a Yangtze River cruise. This is a 13-day tour, Shanghai, the Yangtze River cruise, and Chengdu. China Highlights featuring Beijing, Xi'an, Guilin, Yangshu, Chongqing, Yangtze River cruise again, and Shanghai. It's 15 days tours. Cruise and Panda, which is featuring Beijing, Xi'an, Chengdu, the Yangtze River cruise, Shanghai, and of course visiting the featuring the pandas. Memories of China, a 15-day tour featuring Beijing, Xi'an, Guilin, Yangzhou, Chengdu, Hangzhou, Shanghai. We've also got Tibet and Cruise, so it's featuring Beijing, Xi'an, Lhasa, Yangtze River, and Shanghai. Historic China, a 15-day tour featuring Beijing, Xi'an, Luoyang, Denfeng, Pingyao, Datong, and also Shanghai. And Great China, which is a 19-day tour, Beijing, Xi'an, Guilin, Yangshu, Chengdu, Yangtze River cruise, Hangzhou, and Shanghai. The Beauty of China, a 21-day tour featuring Beijing, Xi'an, Guilin, Yangshu, Chengdu, Lijiang, a Yangtze River cruise, and also Shanghai. Amazing China, 21 days featuring Beijing, Xi'an, Guilin, Hangzhou, Chengdu, Liang, Dali, Kunming, and Shanghai. Now, all of the tours are based on 3.5 stars through to 4-star superior. So it's not the top of the range as far as accommodation is concerned, but I think it's ideal for the Australian market purely because of the fact that Australians do tend to look a little bit more on value. So when's really the best time to travel to China? Most popular time to visit China is April through to June and September to early November. This is when the weather is a little bit more temperate. As far as weather is concerned, weather in China is massively extreme. It goes from the very, very cold during their winter time, which of course is northern hemisphere, through to extremely hot in the summer. So that's why we recommend that you go to travel on either end of those extremes of seasons. Also try and avoid the national holidays such as the Chinese New Year, between the 1st and the 3rd of May, and also October 1st to the 3rd as well. Basically because major sites become very crowded and extremely busy. So why a tour to China? Well, basically because of the fact that we limit the number of passengers is limited to a maximum of 20, it means that size of the groups means the best use of time. We also have local guides to assist you with language and sightseeing and so forth. You should also keep in mind the history, the culture, the religion, the cities of landscapes are all very unique. It's a totally unique country. And also you're traveling with like-minded travelers as well. The main market, you'll find that clients are from mostly UK and also from Australia as well. So what's the best-selling tour? Well, for us, it's the China Highlights Tour. This is a 15-day all-inclusive, fully escorted tour featuring the highlights of China. Beijing for 3 nights, Xi'an for 2 nights, Guilin 3 nights, Chongqing 1 night, a Yangtze River cruise for 3 nights, and Shanghai for 2 nights. And this has a starting price of $3,638 per person. So getting around China, okay, well, we like to think that we have transportation that's a little bit better than this. Due to the sheer size of the country, flying is obviously the quickest and most convenient. We also offer trains, private cars on occasions, coaches, and cruise ships. And don't worry, we won't put you on a bicycle like this. So accommodation, as I was saying before, it's basically comfortable 3 to 3.5 star properties. They have been selected because of the fact that they are used to catering for the European market, specifically the English and of course the Australian market as well. So an example here, for instance, is in Guilin is the Bravo Hotel, part of the Bravo Hotel group. So it's just a few more. The Shanghai Sunrise is also another hotel, which is located on the Bund in Shanghai. So food and dining. On the tours, breakfast is served in the hotel and usually includes Western-style dishes. In some remote areas, some of the hotels and restaurants are unaccustomed, I must admit, to cater for Western travellers. Hence the ingredients and also the variety of dishes in these areas. As is the tradition in China, lunch and dinner consists of small dishes of local cuisine, which is then placed on a lazy Susan, allowing you to experience a variety of specialty dishes. The amount of food served is enough for the whole group and caters to the taste of the majority of people, so dishes are not too spicy or unusual in their taste. If you do not feel comfortable using chopsticks, then feel free to ask the restaurant, of course, staff for cutlery. At some restaurants, the meal cost will include 1 glass of beer, a soft drink or bottled water, and also copious amounts of green tea. Wine that is Western style, I should point out, is very expensive to import, so many restaurants, to be honest, won't stock it. Chinese wine is available, but I have to admit they're not usually the same quality as those available in Australia. Bottled water and soft drinks are also widely available. So just a few highlights on some of the tours that we feature. Tiananmen Square, over 40 hectares and originally built and designed in 1651, and is rumoured to be able to hold over 1 million people. The Summer Palace in Beijing is a vast ensemble of lakes, gardens and palaces dominated by Longlevity Hill and Kunming Lake. It covers an expanse of 2.9 square kilometres, which is 3/4 of which is actually water. The Great Wall. I don't know, I'm always reminded of that funny advert. Dad, why did they build the Great Wall of China? That was during the time of the Emperor Nazi Goring, and it was to keep the rabbits out. Too many rabbits in China. Well, that's what Telstra would have us believe. Actually, the construction of the Great Wall of China began under the Zhou dynasty, where vassal states each built their own walls. Under the Qing dynasty, the walls were united, and it became a symbol of the now united China. The wall was renovated during the Ming Dynasty. Well, as to rabbits in China, well, the Kalichi virus was first introduced by scientists in China in 1984. The virus has since wiped out about 95% of feral rabbits in part of China, so you won't see too many of those anymore. The Terracotta Army. The Terracotta Army in Xi'an is one of the top attractions in China. It's significant because the hundreds of detailed lifestyle models represent the army that triumphed over all other Chinese armies in the Warring States period and who ushered in the United Imperial China era 2,200 years ago. It's considered one of the great archaeological sites in the world and one of the great discoveries of the 20th century. Chengdu. Its most famous residents are, of course, the giant pandas, and Chengdu is home to the Chengdu Panda Breeding and Research Center, and an included visit on many of our tours. Shanghai. Now, I mentioned earlier about the cityscape. This is looking across the Yangtze River through to the Bund area, so you can just see down the bottom there the tiny European-style buildings, absolutely dwarfed by the modern skyscrapers. Must on any of the tours. So on to Guilin. This is the major feature here is the 4-hour cruise on the Li River. Yangtze River cruises. Now this typifies one of the vessels that's actually used on the cruise. The Yangtze River is, of course, China's longest river and flows from Tibet all the way down to Shanghai. China Links use a 5-star fleet of Victoria cruises. They have maybe 8, well, they've got 8 ships with approximately 135 cabins per ship. The highlights on this cruise include the Three Gorges Dam, which was completed back in 2012 and is actually a wonder of modern engineering. So let's go on to Japan and Korea. As I mentioned earlier, China Links have also established a company called Japan Links to cover their the areas of Japan and also South Korea. A variety of tours here which I'll run through in a minute. One of the things, the hotels are again a standard 3-star. You can in fact purchase upgrades to superior 4 stars and also deluxe 5 stars. Now all of the tours, because of the nature and because of the variety of accommodation, they do remain on request at all times. Now, some of the tours actually coincide with the cherry blossom season as well. Generally, the cherry blossom, it runs from south to north. As you could imagine, the cherry blossoms don't appear in the country all at one time. They actually start from late March, and they work their way up the country through from Kyushu through to the main island and then finally up to Hokkaido, and it can start any time from late March and terminating or in mid-April, sometimes through to early May. So some of the tours do in fact feature cherry blossom season. So we have 3 escorted land-only group tours. The maximum group size is 14, so that does keep the size of the groups and so forth down to, it makes it a little bit more comfortable to travel with. Now, there are 2 types of tours that are featured in the brochure. There is, first of all, a fully escorted tour, which includes a local guide that accompanies the clients throughout, and then also what's known as a semi-escorted tour, which feature local guides on sightseeing tours and also a mix of public and chartered transportation. That I'll just run through with you a little bit later on. And of course, tours feature the bullet train as well. The bullet train is used on all tours and reaches speeds up to 186 miles per hour and carries 151 million passengers a year. Unlike some of our own trains and buses, the average annual average delay of a train is only 0.6 of a minute. So I think you can say that the trains safely run on time in Japan. Okay, if I can just run quickly through the tours on the brochure before I tackle Korea. We have the Essential Japan Tour, which is a 6-day tour featuring Tokyo and Kyoto. This is a fully escorted tour. Japan's Golden Route, which is a 9-day tour, a fully escorted 9-day tour, featuring Tokyo, Hakone, and also Kyoto. And that's a fully escorted tour. And then we have one of the semi-escorted tours, which is the Japan Heritage, which is a 14-day tour. Now, we say semi-escorted purely because of the fact that you do have local guides on your sightseeing tours, but when you're transferring from one city to another, you do this virtually under your own steam. But there is a twist. Now, the tour features Tokyo, Takayama, Shirakawago, Kanazawa, Kyoto, Mount Koya, Hiroshima, and Osaka. Now, when I say traveling under your own steam, for instance, on day 4 of the tour, where you go from Tokyo to Takayama, you're traveling on local train services, and the first question, of course, is, well, what happens with your bags? Well, basically what happens is that your main suitcase will actually be transferred directly from from Tokyo to Kyoto. So you need to take with you only a small amount of luggage that you'll need for your night in Takayama. So you make your own way through to the train station. You take the bullet train to Nagoya. You make a train change and then travel on to Takayama, and where you make your own way to your accommodation. And then likewise, when you go from Kyoto to Mount Koya, a similar situation. Your suitcases are actually transferred ahead of you and to your next stop in Osaka, and you just need to take just a small overnight bag with some clothes and so forth for the following day. Now, Korea. Here we have 2 fully escorted land-only group tours. We have the Treasures of South Korea, which is a 7-day tour, and this is fully escorted. And also the Wonders of South Korea, which is an 11-day tour, again, fully escorted. So the maximum group size, again, is only 14 passengers. And these tours can be combined with Japan as well, so it makes it for a very good overall itinerary. So again, why book with China Links Travel? You have guaranteed departures and small group sizes. You have named hotels prior to booking. You've got the flexibility of a small group, competitive pricing, experienced and fully qualified guides, and upgrades are available. So that really comes to the end of our presentation. May I say shishi, domo arigato, and finally kamsahamnida. Try and get your tongue around that one. So thank you very much for the time. Sorry it was a little bit erratic. Public speaking, I must admit, is not exactly my forte, but anyway, we got through it, which is good, so thank you. One thing, all of the tours are in fact bookable or booking possible via Calypso. If when you log on to Calypso, if you look out for the China Links tile, you'll find most of the China tours are on free sale, with the exception of any of the tours featuring the Yangtze River cruise. Japan and Korea, because of the nature of their tours, will always remain on request. So don't forget also our product range for 2016-17, and also our other general sales agencies, Acacia Africa, Fez Travel, and of course China Links. And that's it for another time. Thank you very much indeed for listening. Bye.